After 7 official games this season, Real Madrid sits second in La Liga, 4 points behind Barcelona. But many fans expected Real Madrid to blow through the competition this season with the arrival of Kylian Mbappé and what was perceived to be the missing piece of Carlo Ancelotti's side. In this video, I'll answer the burning question: are Real Madrid significantly underperforming in comparison to this point last season? Or is it simply the unreasonable expectation from the fans? I'll analyze the data and compare Mbappe's side this season that was described as a more vertical and direct side by Carlo Ancelotti to Toni Kroos' supposed possession side. We'll look at everything from the XG, possession, chances created, and stick around to the end because I'll provide my final analysis at the very end of this video. Today, Real Madrid defeated Espanyol 4-1 at the Bernabeu after drawing the first half 0-0. A 4-1 scoreline suggests a very decisive victory for Real Madrid, but all Real Madrid's goals came in the second half, after Real Madrid was behind in the match. So it's important in this assessment to take those details into account, because winning is important, but it's also how you win, which is also important. At this point in the season last year, which was 7 games into the season, we won 6 and lost 1 away to Atleti. In comparison, today, Real Madrid has 5 wins with 2 draws. That's 18 points for the team last season in comparison to 17 this season. So again, I'm talking about this point of the season, and I'm not counting the Super Cup as a part of that because technically it's kind of not an official game. I know there's a trophy associated with it, but for this video, we're not counting it as one of the official matches. So far this season, Real Madrid has scored 16 goals, and 5 of those goals have come from penalties, versus last year's side, which has scored 12 goals. But last year's side only conceded 6 goals, whereas this year, we only conceded 4. On paper, that sounds like Real Madrid is having a better season, but when you dig deeper into the numbers, the data is very revealing. Now, it's important to put into context that 3 of the goals Real Madrid conceded last season was in 1 game against Atletico Madrid. We actually had 3 clean sheets in 7 games, which is the same exact number of clean sheets we have this season, 3. However, when you dig into the XG, this is where it gets a little interesting. Last season, Real Madrid created an XG of 8.24 by this point of the season. But this part is kind of shocking to me, so strap in. This year's XG so far is 17.98. That's a significant increase from last year. We cannot forget about the clutch goals from Jude Bellingham, the late winner against Getafe, the late winner against Union Berlin that came after the 90th minute. When we revisit some of the talking points from last season, we just lost Eder Militao to an ACL injury. We lost Thibaut Courtois, so 2 key players already were lost for the rest of the season due to ACL injuries. Benzema went to Saudi Arabia. So the whole narrative around Real Madrid was the expectations were so low. Now, when comparing Real Madrid's opening fixture this season, we faced Mallorca away in a match where we were able to generate an XG of only 0.60 versus Mallorca's 1.03. But you don't need stats to tell me that Mallorca was the better side on that day. They generated the better chances and found it easy to hit the team in transition. Now compare our opening match against Atletico Bilbao last season. The team generated an XG of only 0.92, with Jude Bellingham scoring a goal from a chance that was recorded at a 0.07 in the XG chart. Jude Bellingham was really skewing the numbers because he was scoring chances that only a phenomenal number 9 would convert. His finishing was through the roof, but one of the biggest differences between last season and this season when we compare them is in our opening match against Mallorca this season, we had 66% possession, where we had only 54% possession last season against Athletic Bilbao. And that's just an indication of teams sitting in a deep block more this season against us than last season, where they came out to play more. Teams are more afraid and they're basically sitting deeper in their side of the pitch. But that also indicates that we're not being very efficient with the ball. Our last game was by far the best from an XG perspective. We created a 4.89, which is the highest of any game this season. But again, most of those opportunities came in the second half, which has been a big talking point within Real Madrid. We have not scored in the first half of a game since that opening match against Mallorca. In the post-game press conference, Carlo Ancelotti said that he brought this point up to the team after the game, that they need to play faster and there needs to be more intensity and they need to try and score in the first half. He also said that the team played rock and roll football, and I disagree with that statement. In our opening Champions League match against Stuttgart in the Champions League, Stuttgart was able to generate 17 shots against us. 7 of those shots were on target, creating an XG of almost 2. It was a 1.94. The defensive display by Real Madrid in that game at the Bernabeu was very poor. Once again, the goals came in the second half with Rudiger putting in a header very late in the game. This is a game where we could have easily lost. But to be fair, you say that about Real Madrid often. We end up winning games that we don't deserve to win. That's just historically been true about Real Madrid. Following the game, Carlo Ancelotti said he wants the team to play a lot more vertically, with an emphasis on being more direct with the ball and less build-up play. But what has been troubling is that Real Madrid doesn't seem to have control of matches, and the build-up play has been very poor. We've historically relied on Toni Kroos in the build-up phase, where he was able to complete over 94% of his passes. With the ball progression being shared amongst the players in the squad, there isn't an individual player that's leading the passes out of the back. We're seeing more long balls attempted by Militao and Rudiger. And this season so far, and I'm not sure if it's because Carvajal is still tired and he hasn't really had a proper time off from the Euros and from last season, but he's had a lot of bad giveaways and his pass completion has been very bad so far. So we cannot discount how important having reliable fullbacks is. Every great team has had really reliable, excellent fullbacks. When you look at our prime Real Madrid squad from the 2016-2017 season, we had Marcelo, we had Dani Carvajal. So this system also hinges on them being very reliable and being in top form. And that's why you also saw a significant improvement when Eder Militao came in and Lucas Vazquez came out, because he had some pretty bad giveaways himself. Part of the reason I made this video is to provide some actual hard facts and data and numbers behind Real Madrid's performances. We're not that far behind where we were last season. I'm not going to sit here and say it hasn't been poor, because 100% it's been very poor. But it's true also that once Kylian Mbappé starts really exceeding his XG and starts scoring more goals, things are going to look a lot better and there's going to be more optimism and energy behind this team. We're still undefeated in 38 games in La Liga. Even when we're not playing well, we still find a way to get a result. But what I'm also interested in is to see what Arda Güler can do in this team, playing in a little bit of a deeper role. He has that intelligence and creativity that nobody else in the team really has, aside from Luka Modric. He doesn't have the pace and power of Endrick, for example. He doesn't have the physicality of Jude Bellingham, but he has that intelligence. And I just believe that if he could be more involved in the build-up phase, that is a guy who maybe can solve some of these problems for us. When he has the ball under pressure, he seems to know how to get himself out of those situations. So I'd be interested to see how that would look, especially with Camavinga returning as well. Our next big test next weekend is against Atletico Madrid at the Metropolitano. How would you guys line up for that game? I've heard rumors that Camavinga should be back. I'm interested to know that, so let me know in the comments. Thank you for watching. Hala Madrid.